A story which broke after our show last week, which really kind of shook an awful lot of people, was the sacking of James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, a lot of people are very split on this because, for those that are unaware, James Gunn was sacked for a series of tweets that he made. Was something like, Andy, was like 10 years ago or something like that?
Yeah, 10 years ago.
That's right. And it looks like there was a vendetta against him of a particular individual who was a very strong Trump supporter who went through James Gunn's tweets and found a series of particularly quite... let's just say they were very dark humour, and but by no means was there any wit, it seemed, attached to them. It was very much James Gunn trying to be quite provocative, dealing in subject matter that a lot would very much consider taboo. And unfortunately, it has been the undoing of James Gunn and Disney. Now, you've been writing about this, Andy, so let's get into a little bit more about the tweets. Obviously, we're quite mindful of the time of day that it is, and your reaction to his sacking.
Yeah, first off, like you said, the tweets are, they're kind of, at best, they're ill-advised attempts at humour. They're just kind of done more for shock value. Things like South Park was kind of notorious for, but without any of the kind of the wit or the social commentary associated with it. Now, the thing about this that was strange is that it was, the head of Disney, Alan Horn, said in a statement, we've uncovered these tweets and it's not consistent with the studio's values and we've severed the relationship. These have been in the public domain for, like I said, over a decade. And actually, at the time, a few years after the tweets, Gunn himself apologised. He issued a statement through GLAAD, which is the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. And they posted on their site, and everything seemed to be, this guy's made a mistake. We're okay with this. We're happy with that. But to do this, 10 years later, just seems like very reactionary. There's rumours now that the head of Disney, he's a big supporter of Trump, and he's been looking at maybe pitching his own presidential campaign soon. So there's a lot kind of politically going on in the background. The other thing that they said as well is that if James Gunn directs Guardians 3, the whole press tour is going to be about these tweets. It's like, well, even if whoever comes in and steps into what's essentially a poison chalice, now this is going to be an even bigger subject than it was. And had you just at the time said, look, we're aware of this, he's apologised, we're not happy with what he said, but we've moved on from that.
It's a very difficult one, Andy, because James Gunn, for anyone that has interviewed him, and I've interviewed him in the past, and he was a really nice guy, and he has come out, he has apologised, as you said, he has defended his position, but some people just feel you cannot defend the particular jokes that he was making. And from Disney's perspective, how can you be associated with someone who's made those jokes, bearing in mind that they are in the family entertainment business, that really... it has to be a face-saving exercise. You cannot just have somebody attached to a project of that nature. Can you understand why Disney would want to distance themselves from him?
You can, but at the same time, I think it kind of goes against their core message. Like every Disney film you've seen, from The Lion King to Iron Man, is about somebody who's, a flawed character who makes a mistake, is given a second chance and thrives. And I think Gunn has done that. He's kind of, accepted. He's never shied away from what he's done and the way that, people like Roseanne Barr done. And then there was a lot of comparisons, to Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey. I don't think, there's no comparison to, physical and, mental abuse of people over decades to, admittedly offensive tweets. But I think, you've got Robert Downey Jr. there, who's front and center of the Marvel Universe. His, the previous discretions are well known as well. You've kind of set a precedent here, but without kind of defining what the rules are. Can we fire Robert Downey Jr. from Iron Man now because 10 years ago he was, drinking, drug-addled and, was breaking into people's houses? Where's the kind of the line here? If you're going to say we're the moral company, Robert Downey Jr. has to go as well, then if you're going to stick with that, or is there something else behind this? And I think there is a lot of politically motivated reasons behind this, and it's not something they can come out and say, but I think they've kind of made a rod for their own backs here. There's very few people that are squeaky clean, unless you're going to just cast Tom Hanks and everything now. I don't think yet you can move forward with these, morals and rules in place that you haven't defined for people to follow.
Just before we move on to some of the big trailers that came out of Comic-Con, Andy, just on a final note on James Gunn, there is a lot of support from him online. Like Dave Bautista, one of the Guardians, has been very vocal in showing his support for James Gunn. I suppose for him, like, he owes an awful lot to James Gunn because he really gave him a chance and he has really changed his career. So you can understand why he would really be quite supportive of James Gunn. But at the same time, there's an awful lot of people want to see Gunn reinstated as the director for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. There's currently an online petition and it's gotten tens of thousands of people signing it. Can you see Disney overturning their decision?
Honestly, I can't see them doing that, but I think it would be a huge statement if they did. Like, if you look at the comparison between things like, I know we spoke earlier about Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright gave for her first interview since that happened, and all she was short of doing was denying who Kevin Spacey was. But you have people like Batista, you had Selma Blair, who was a huge advocate of the Me Too movement, Patton Oswalt, all coming forward to defend this person. I think, they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. If they let go and come back into the fold, you're going to get backlash based on people who, were offended and, disgusted by the tweet. But then again, if you hand that to someone else, you're going to have the people who are supporting him, and that's going to be the story that's going to run and run. So you're kind of, regardless of what they do here, there doesn't seem to be a right answer. I think they've handled the whole thing badly now, and no matter what they do going forward, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will be tarnished by it. I don't think there's a director you can just slot in there that's going to make everybody happy and make people forget about this incident.
And that's the end of that chapter.